There it is. My little thing at the top, Aidan, said that I'm totally entitled to start early if I want to. So I'm going to, because I feel like a rebel, and it's Friday. In a minute, hello, everybody. It is Friday, and this is Graham Coath with another My Music. I'm going to be speaking to Aidan about Weimar. Do you pronounce it Weimar?
Weimar. It's pronounced the German way.
There you go. Let me just hit myself over the head. Weimar and the girls of LA and music in general. But first, let's have this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Thanks for giving up some of your Friday to come and speak to me, Aidan. Why the name then? What is it? The German name? So where did that come from?
Well, it was when we were first putting the band together. We took some time to settle on a name. We were tossing up loads of suggestions. Possible names.
Go on. Yeah, no. You've put that out there now. So, what other suggestions were there? What hit the dustbin?
Well, John suggested the name "What the Moon Is Like."
It's very long.
Yeah. Well, I thought we needed something simpler than that. So, I've been working on. I've been reading a book at the time about architectural movements, and
right.
There was a passing mention in the book of the Weimar architecture era, and then I just thought, Weimar, that's a possible name. I'll put that to the others tomorrow. And so the next day at rehearsal, I just said came up with another possible name, Weimar, and pretty much immediately on the spot, everyone said, yeah, that'll do.
You know why, don't you? Because they all went, I know, when you get to go and be interviewed by that Graham, he'll get it completely wrong.
I mean, that's the curse of having a name like this. People so often mispronounce it all the time. But
I have exactly the same problem with my own name. So I wouldn't worry about that. People will get used to it. It will grow on people. So you mentioned John there, who I have interviewed before from the Speed of Sound. How did the two of you meet?
John and I met at a Manchester Music Industry networking event. There used to be semi-regular events in Manchester every few months or so, and we met in about 2015 at one of these music industry network events, and immediately hit it off pretty much.
Cool. Were you aware of the Speed of Sound before that?
Not before that.
And then John made sure that you listened to absolutely everything that he had.
Yes. Well, every one of these events, we'd all like introduce one another by saying what bands we'd been in. And so John told me about the Speed of Sound, sent me the links to check them out online, and I immediately loved what I heard.
Yeah. What had you been in? Had you been in bands before?
Yeah, I was. My first band was we were called the Bacillus, BACILLUS. We were around between 2019 to 2011, roughly. And Stephen, who has been playing guitar in the latest incarnation of Weimar, he was actually bassist in the Bacillus, and we put out the one album, I Can't Adapt to This Prison You Call Society, which we released in 2011, and then German Shepherd Records re-released it a few years later.
All right, which is the same record label that this is on.
Yes, yeah, I've stayed with German Shepherd since then.
Ah, right. What is it about German Shepherd that makes them so special? Other than that, they're lovely dogs.
Well, German Shepherd kind of represent the experimental underground. They're concentrated in the Manchester area, but there's a lot of bands from outside of Manchester on German Shepherd as well. Generally, the underground, experimental, avant-garde stuff that the mainstream labels aren't going to touch. German Shepherd are all about free expression and
yeah. Well, it sounds like a great record label. Guys, if you ever want to send me stuff, I'll listen to all of it and let you know. Now, listen. So, when did music first happen for you? What age were you when you first started to think I could do this music thing?
very, very young. I was about 10 or so when I started seriously getting into music. But it was only like when I was about 24 or something, mid noughties, when I kind of gave myself the kick up the arse to think, right, I've got to do it, because I've been pursuing a career in the movie industry before that. I had a bit role in the film 24 Hour Party People.
Right.
Role in that.
Yeah.
Brief scene, 3 lines in the funeral scene with Steve Coogan, and I still get recognised from that. And a couple of low budget movies aside from that. But after a few years of that, I just thought the acting thing isn't for me. My heart's in music, and I just gave myself the kick up the ass to pick up a guitar, start learning, and start writing my own songs.
Yeah. What were you listening to at age 10?
More or less the same stuff I am now. Only,
Really? That's cool.
Only my tastes have expanded, obviously. Yeah. I got into bands like The Cure and the Wonder stuff. I was very into at 10. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, Soft Cell, and it all went from there, really.
Yeah. That's cool for 10.
I suppose so, yeah.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, look, what do you think a lot of 10-year-olds are listening to these days?
I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. Before that, I was into stuff like MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice and stuff. But then it was when I saw the Wonder stuff doing Size of a Cow.
Size of a Cow.
They had it on Top of the Pops and the chart show, and that pretty much changed my music taste overnight. And I bought the Never Loved Elvis album, and that changed everything. Set me off on a whole different musical path.
It was Miles and his hair, you know, just the way he flicked it, you know. That's what all of that was about. Hey, look, nothing wrong with it. MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice. I mean, you know, in the right place at the right time, maybe. But you know, those other bands, absolutely fantastic. So you were into kind of the indie scene, that sort of, you know, indie goth stuff as well, from the Cure, etc. So as you grew up, how did your taste mature music wise?
I got more into experimental stuff, a bit of prog rock, a bit of
really. Wait, prog? Who prog wise?
Well, Pink Floyd, obviously, big influence on me, and some stuff more underground, like Gong and Gryphon and stuff. I'm quite eclectic. See,
Pink Floyd's an interesting one, isn't it? Because the great thing about Pink Floyd is that they kind of span, especially because there was Pink Floyd and then there was Pink Floyd, if you know what I mean. There was early Pink Floyd, which, if you like, has got as much a grounding in sort of pure English songwriting, and you know, the Syd Barrett stuff is as much like things like the Kinks and stuff like that, with those, but with a bit more of a psychedelic twist than, you know, obviously the latter stuff with Gilmour and whatever, when, you know, and 30-minute solos and whatever. So it's it spans quite a big thing. So, you know, for a lot of people, I think Floyd will be in there just because of that. In a way, they kind of move you from one place to, if you go and study it, you go from one place to another with that. Do you think that's a fair comment?
I think so, yeah. And I've been into a bit of krautrock as well,
Right.
and stuff like Cannes, Neu, La Dusseldorf, and I've developed a taste with time for French chanson, a bit of European folk, and cabaret and stuff. I think the influence of it all show in Weimar in some sense.
I love to hear that. And it's something I've discussed over and over again with people on this program, and I hope you agree with this as well. But I feel that, you know, for so many people, their listening ears or their ability to listen to music needs to be stretched more. You know, and I think you really have to find things occasionally where you actually, first time that you listen to them, if we're being generally honest, you might go, I don't quite get that. But actually, with time, you end up really loving it, because it kind of pushes you into going, oh yeah. I had to work at this. I mean, you were saying to me just before we came on, you work in editing and you read books. I mean, in a way, is it not the same with things like books? Are you always looking for someone to get it technically right, but also someone to push language a little bit?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to, you know, because otherwise it's been done before, isn't it? You know, and you're always looking for that kind of little bit of edge. Interesting. If you're into books, have you ever read any of Christian Hirsch's books?
I haven't actually, no.
Yeah, do that, because okay. the way she writes, kind of the way that she puts together her sentence structure and everything's so interesting, and it just draws you in, because it is.
I think John's a fan. I think he is.
Yeah, so different. So in terms of this band, when you set out to put this band together, did you have a sound in mind? Did you have a?
Not really. It was I guess the thing was I'd been in a kind of experimental improvisational band called the Bus Pass with Johann Kloos, who was in the original incarnation of Weimar, and Brian Benson on the drums, and that was all improvisation. We'd just feed off the audience. It was completely spontaneous, and we started to look at doing something with more concrete songs, and developing from the jams we'd set out into something more concrete. And so when we teamed up with John and started jamming together, and I brought them a few songs that I'd written, we had no real solid idea of what sort of identity it was going to take, what kind of sound we were going for. We just worked with what we had, and Weimar, as you see it now, kind of evolved very organically from that, and it was quite a gradual process as well. A lot of times early on, we thought it's not quite clear where we're going, but we just worked with what we had and threw in whatever new ideas came our way, and Weimar in the end took shape.
Well, I really love it. I really, you know, to me, it's quite immediate as music, if you know what I mean by that. You know, some music you sort of have to, you know, you wait for it, and then it just slowly but surely comes in. But this is immediate, and you immediately just want to. It's got an energy about it, which I really love, and you just really immediately want to get into it. Is it? Did you feel that energy was coming off of it when you were all working together?
Definitely, yeah. In the end we did, and it was good when we first finally started playing live and seeing the reactions from audiences. I mean, the first proper full band gig we played was in front of an audience of nearly all complete strangers. There was hardly anyone in that audience that we knew beforehand, and we knew from their reaction, like, we're on to something. It was very reassuring to see it's not just in our heads that this music sounds good. We were kind of getting the confirmation that other people are going to like this too.
When was that? When was that first gig?
It was at the end of 2017. We played at in Trader Jack's in Chorley. Some of that gig, I think, is still on YouTube. That
right.
You can probably view that gig on YouTube. We played a couple of kind of experimental gigs before that to test the waters, before Eddie the drummer had come on board. So we played a couple of small gigs as just John, Johan, and me, which kind of test the waters. But the Trader Jack's gig was what I consider the first real Weimar gig, the first full band gig.
Have you played since the pandemic all happened?
We haven't.
No.
I mean, we agreed on it around this time last year. We just thought that the government's rushing back to normality before it's really ready to. There's going to be new variants springing up. We could see exactly what was going to happen, and we didn't want to take the risk, one, of endangering ours and other people's lives by and health by playing live in these circumstances. And you never know with 100% certainty when a gig's going to go ahead, because anyone could test positive at the last minute and pull out. And it made so much more sense to just concentrate on studio material for now and save live performance until a point in the future when it's safer to. But so for the time being, Weimar is a studio entity.
Yeah. What about this title, "The Girls of LA"? Where did that come from?
The song came to me in a dream. I was, and quite a few of my songs have done. I was staying over at my sister's house and sleeping on a mattress in her spare room, and I just woke up with that melody in my head from a dream I'd been having.
Right.
And the lyric, "The Girls of LA," was in the song, and I just quickly grabbed my phone and hummed the melody into it to make sure I didn't forget it when I'd woken fully. So I just hummed it, got a bit more sleep, and then the next day I went home, wrote the song.
That quite quickly from that?
The song took shape very quickly. Yeah. It was one of those flashes of inspiration that just comes right out, and I knew right away it was an obvious single. And so the lyric, "The Girls of LA," had been part of what I heard in the dream, so I had to work with that. And so the song had to mean something. And so I'd read an article about the bottle service girls who work the bars and clubs of LA and live a sort of life behind the scenes, using the tips they get from punters to finance their wider career aspirations in Hollywood and in business. And so I made the song about them. So it carries with it a kind of positive aspirational message, perhaps a positive reflection on the American dream.
Yeah.
And forging your own,
which is great, actually, isn't it? Because when you initially hear a title like that, you could immediately sort of go Motley Crue or something like.
I was absolutely determined it wasn't going to be that sort of song. It had to have a deeper.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But it which is great though, that what you've done is you've taken that and you've fashioned that into a song that's got some depth to it. As opposed to literally being a song about the girls of LA, which is all surface level. But that's great. But I like that because, there will be some people that come to that thinking, well, that looks great, the Girls of LA, but then actually they discover a bit more, which is,
I hope so.
yeah, which is fantastic. So are you on your way towards a whole album here?
The album is out next month.
Brilliant.
It's all been recorded, produced. It's all ready, mastered, everything. It's titled Dancing on a Volcano, and it will be released on June the 24th and will be available through German Shepherd Records as a download, or CD copies are available.
There you are, Dancing on a Volcano. So there's a very Genesis type.
You're the first person to mention the Genesis connection, at which, because I'm sure they probably got the title from the same source as we did. It's from a quote by the Chancellor of the Weimar Republic in the 1920s, Gustav Stresemann, who described Germany's economic state at the time as dancing on a volcano, as in it appears to be prosperous and booming, but it could erupt at any moment.
But it could go at any minute.
Yeah, and we felt at the time we chose the title that it worked partly because of the Weimar connection and because it kind of summed up the situation that the UK was in at the time with Brexit and all that. And I'd say, especially with COVID and the appearance of normality when the pandemic is ongoing, a new variant could blow up at any moment. It's taken on a new meaning. So the title Dancing on a Volcano, it sums up the situation now even more aptly than it did when we chose it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's
been kind of
prophetic.
Exactly, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, when you're saying that, sort of the whole thing with the cost of living crisis at the moment, and let's see how people were reacting yesterday in the local elections. It was all really centered around that the government not really doing enough quickly enough to help people in terms of the cost of living. So I mean, I think a very apt and right title, and what a great time to bring it out as well.
Good timing.
What can we expect musically throughout the whole album? Is there is there shade and light? Are we expecting?
The first thing I will say, not the Girls of LA. The single is, I mean, it's not on the album, and it's not reflective of the sound you're going to be hearing on the album, which is what we've been telling everyone in advance. The single is completely separate. There's going to be some very different stuff on the album from what you hear on the single.
I love that. That's great, because I mean, it's so obvious. In a way, it's so obvious, isn't it, to release a single and the single to be the sort of lead into the album, and for some bands, in fact, for a lot of bands, the strongest track on the album. But you've rallied against that, and this is the other way around.
I mean, we don't want to bait and switch, so we've been. That's why we've been very vocal about it. The album is very different from the single. You asked, was there light and shade? I would say there's lots of shade, but probably a bit of light on there too. There's a lot of experimentation, different styles on there. There's a bit of avant-garde jazz there, a bit of chanson, a bit of cabaret.
Wow.
A bit of prog, some blues. I would say you can't really summarize it under a single umbrella. It's just the sound of Weimar.
So, I love that. That sounds like, to me, that sounds like the perfect evening in.
I hope so.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. And what day is that
out? Friday, 24th of June.
Friday. There you are. Everybody put that in your diaries now. Friday, the 24th of June. And what formats is that going to be available on?
It'll be download format, digital download from German Shepherd Records Bandcamp, and it'll be available in CD format from our website, from WeimarBandUK.com.
Fantastic. Vinyl as well, or can you just not get hold
We
of
would
that?
have loved to have put it out on vinyl, but it was slightly out of our realms of affordability to afford vinyl copies. But having said that, we're not going to rule out that there may be a vinyl release someday if things go well financially and we think we can maybe afford to press it on vinyl, then we will do it. So don't rule it out completely.
I know. Well, at least there's another record pressing plant now in Middlesbrough. So that's slightly good news, isn't it? That there are more facilities available in this country for pressing vinyl again. After there was a kind of collapse vinyl wise for a while, where certain artists used it all up. What can we say, greedy buggers? It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, Aidan. One thing that I do ask people generally before they go, which is, and you can go either way on this, if you could work with anybody, alive or dead, who would it be?
Probably Mark Almond.
Oh, right.
Such a big influence on me, and it would certainly be interesting to see what we would do together to collaborate.
And he's done a lot of collaboration, hasn't he?
Many, yeah.
So. Yeah, and interesting collaborations as well, not just
all sorts.
Yeah, not just the sort of typical, let's put two voices together. He's certainly, he's more experimental than I think a lot of people will just know Mark Almond from, Tainted Love and whatever. But there's so much more to him.
Lots more, that's the frustrating thing, because people just immediately think Tainted Love, and he's done so much more than just that. And a lot of people I know love Soft Cell, but a lot fewer people tend to ever recognize his solo work. But he has such a gorgeous body of solo work, much of which has been a big influence on me musically, and criminally overlooked, I would say.
Criminally, that's a good word, and that's a great word to finish on this Friday. Folks, go and check out this wonderful record, or the single, "The Girls of LA," and then check out, please, the album when it comes out next month. Aidan, thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking the time out this afternoon. You'll be able to watch this again on repeat on YouTube, etc. If you're listening on Spotify, thanks for listening. Give some money to some musicians while you're here. At the same time, go and buy a copy of the album, physical. I know you're on a streaming platform, but it doesn't hurt to buy something occasionally, does it? And we'll see you all again and sometime next week for some more My Music. Bye for now.